You're not invited to our wedding. We only invited special people.
I spent $33,400 helping them start their life. And I wasn't special enough to see it begin. They already got married yesterday.
I spent $33,400 supporting my son and his wife, and they still said I wasn't special enough for their wedding. Lena looked me right in the eye and said, "We already got married yesterday. We only invited special people." She said it sitting on the sofa I bought, in the living room I furnished, while my son Max stared at the floor like a guilty stranger. Special people. I stood there holding my phone like it weighed 1,000 pounds. 3 years of $500 rent transfers. Groceries, furniture, and temporary help. Apparently, none of that made me special enough for my own son's wedding. Max finally looked up. "Mom, it was intimate, just us and the witnesses, but I'd already seen the photos. Her parents, her siblings, champagne toasts, the white dress I'd helped pay for with $800 for personal expenses. In my closet hung the pale pink dress I'd bought for the big day, new shoes, a sealed envelope with $1,000 inside for their gift, a house scrubbed top to bottom for a celebration that would never come, only special. People, the words didn't sting, they branded. A week later, Lena called, voice dripping with practiced sweetness. "Renate, the rent's overdue. The landlord's threatening to evict us. You forgot the transfer." I remembered all the times I ran to the bank before sunrise, all the dinners I skipped so they could eat steak, all the times I convinced myself love was just another payment. "Plan, Lena," I said quietly. "I only help special people." The silence on the line was deafening. Then her trembling voice. "You're like a second mom to me. Second moms get wedding invitations." That night, I cried, but not the soft, sad kind. It was years of exhaustion leaving my body, the kind of crying that cleans you out and makes space for something stronger. By morning, that strength had a name: clarity. I brewed coffee and pulled out my checkbook. Rent, $500, 36, 18,000 food and supplies, 7,200 gifts, 3,000 emergencies, car loans, repairs, $5,200 more. Total, $33,400. That was the real wedding price tag, the one I'd already paid. At the bank, Mr. Klein looked surprised when I said, "Cancel every automatic transfer and help me secure my accounts." He hesitated. "Mrs. Richter, are you sure?" "For the first time in 3 years," I said. "I am." My phone lit up with calls I didn't answer, 20 missed by the time I left the branch. I walked out lighter than air. When I got home, 3 cars were parked in my driveway. Max's, Lena's, and one I didn't recognize. Through the window, I saw movement inside my house. They had keys. Of course they did. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. Max sat on my sofa, head in his hands. Lena was pacing like a cornered cat, and an older man in a gray suit was flipping through papers spread across my dining table. My papers. "What's going on?" I asked. Lena turned quickly. "Renate, thank God. We need to talk. This is Mr. Fisher. He's a lawyer. We're just concerned about your situation." "My situation?" I repeated, voice steady. "Because I canceled your allowance?" Max looked up, guilt fading into defensiveness. "You can't just cut us off like that, Mom." I stared at the stranger rifling through my documents, and something cold and sharp settled in my chest. Whatever this was, it wasn't concern. It was strategy. I thought cutting them off was the end of it, but the man in the gray suit had other plans to prove I wasn't mentally fit to handle my own money. The man in the gray suit smiled, the way people do when they think they're already winning. "Mrs. Richter," he said, extending his hand like he was greeting a child. "I'm Dr. Fisher. Your son and daughter-in-law are worried about you. They've noticed concerning behaviors. I almost laughed. The only behavior I'd changed was refusing to fund their lifestyle." I didn't shake his hand. I gathered my papers off the dining table one by one. "These are private. You had no right to touch them." Lena blinked, pretending to look hurt. "Renate, we're just trying to help. We love you. But lately, you've been acting so confused. You don't answer our calls. You canceled the transfers. Because I woke up, I said. Max jumped in, his tone sliding from pity to accusation. Mom, you're not making rational decisions. You're isolating yourself. We're worried. They weren't worried. They were panicking, because for the first time, the money faucet had closed, and the silence scared them. Mr. Fisher adjusted his glasses. Your children are simply exploring legal options to ensure your financial safety. A temporary power of attorney, I cut him off. So they can manage my money more efficiently? No, thank you. He tried again, his tone patronizingly smooth. It's common for seniors to become overly suspicious. This would just protect you from making impulsive choices. Impulsive? I said. You mean choosing to stop paying rent for 2 adults who own iPhones and a car I helped finance? Lena's face twisted. You're being cruel, Renati. We've always treated you with respect. That broke something loose in me. Respect? You excluded me from your wedding. You lied about it. You let me find out from Facebook. Tell me, was that respect or convenience? The lawyer raised a hand. Mrs. Richter, let's stay calm. Calm is all I've been, I said, voice shaking now. Not from fear, but fury. You're in my home, handling my papers, discussing my sanity, and you want me calm? Mr. Fisher sighed. If your financial decisions continue to endanger you, a judge could assign guardianship. It's a safeguard. Guardianship. The word hit like ice water. That wasn't a safeguard. It was a leash. You want to declare me incompetent, I said slowly. So you can take my money legally, Max frowned. Mom, don't be dramatic. We're just... No, I said, pointing to the door. You're just leaving. All of you. Mom, now. Lena started crying, but they weren't tears of guilt. They were manipulation. You can't do this, Renate. We counted on you. We built our life around your help. Then you built it on sand, I said, because the tide just came in. Mr. Fisher closed his briefcase with the efficiency of a man used to rejection. Mrs. Richter, this conversation isn't over. Your family has legal rights. Then tell your client, I said, looking directly at Max, to use his own money to pay you. As they walked out, Max turned back one last time. You'll regret this. When you really need someone, you'll be alone. I looked him straight in the eye. I've been alone for years. I just stopped pretending otherwise. The door shut. For a moment, I stood in the quiet, heart pounding in the rhythm of freedom. Then I noticed something. Mr. Fisher's business card on my table. On the back, a handwritten note. Elder Financial Guardianship Process. Urgent. They weren't bluffing. They were already planning to strip me of my rights. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of cold coffee and wrote down every bank transfer, every gift, every receipt. If they wanted a war, I would meet them with paperwork, not tears. I thought they'd back off once I cut them off. But the next morning, someone new knocked on my door, a government social worker, sent by my own son. The next morning, I was sipping my coffee when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw a well-dressed young woman holding a clipboard, not a neighbor, not a friend. When I opened the door, she smiled politely. Good morning, Mrs. Renata Richter. I'm Mrs. Schmidt from the Office of Senior Services. We received a report that you may be in a high-risk situation. I need to conduct a wellness check. My blood went cold. A report. From whom? I asked, though I already knew. Your family, she said. They're concerned about your safety and mental health. Of course they were. Concerned that I'd locked up my bank account. I studied her badge. It looked real. May I see your ID again? She handed it over. Legitimate, official seal and all. I just need to ask a few questions, she continued. If you have nothing to hide, this should be quick. That phrase, nothing to hide, made my jaw tighten. That's what manipulators say before they invade your privacy. Then you can wait right here, I told her, because I'm calling my lawyer. I dialed Mr. Weber. Within 20 minutes, he was standing in my living room, calm but visibly angry. Miss Schmidt, he said after glancing at her ID, I hope you have a court order to question my client. Otherwise, this is harassment. She blinked. Sir, we received multiple reports of erratic behavior, installing unnecessary security systems, cutting off family contact, refusing help. Mr. Weber's tone sharpened. You mean she protected herself from 2 adults who broke into her house, stole documents, and threatened legal control over her assets? He opened a folder and laid out receipts, transfers, and notes I'd kept overnight. Here's $33,400 of documented financial abuse. 3 years of forced dependency. You can decide who needs a welfare check. Mrs. Schmidt's confidence began to waver. She looked at me, genuinely uncertain now. Mrs. Richter, do you manage your own finances? I do, I said, sliding over my statements. All up to date. Every bill paid. No debt. Do you live independently? Yes, I cook, clean, drive, and pay my taxes. I take vitamins, not prescriptions. And I have more peace now than I've had in years. Mr. Weber added, my client's mental and physical exams are on record. Perfect health. Perfect clarity. Mrs. Schmidt's pen froze mid-note. I see, she said softly. From what I've reviewed, there's no indication you're at risk. I'll close the case immediately. When she left, the silence in my home felt sacred. I thanked Mr. Weber, but his face stayed serious. Renate, he said, this won't stop here. They're desperate. The next step will be a lawsuit for incompetence. The word hit me like a physical blow. Can they really do that? They can try. It's expensive, but greed makes people inventive. That night I sat by the window, watching headlights pass. My security cameras glowed red, recording everything. I realized they weren't just my protection now. They were my witnesses. And deep down, I knew one thing. My son wasn't done yet. I thought a visit from the government was rock bottom. But the next paper I received wasn't a letter. It was a court summons. Filed by my own son. 3 weeks later, it arrived. Thick white envelope, official seal, heavy enough to feel like betrayal itself. Family Court of Willowbrook County, filed by Maxwell Richter. Subject, petition for guardianship due to mental incompetence. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room went quiet except for the sound of my own heartbeat. My son, my only child, had taken me to court to declare me unfit to live my own life. I called Mr. Weber immediately. When he arrived, I handed him the envelope with shaking hands. They actually did it, I said. He's suing me. He opened it carefully, scanning the pages. They've built a narrative, he muttered. They claim you're confused, erratic, refusing medical care, isolating yourself. They even included witness statements. Witnesses? I asked, he sighed. Lena, a neighbor named Mr. Davis, and a pharmacist. Mr. Green. I felt my chest tighten. Mr. Davis barely spoke to me. Mr. Green had always been polite when I bought my vitamins. They're twisting the truth, Weber said, but we'll untangle it. We went to the pharmacy first. Mr. Green turned red when I asked. Mrs. Richter, I didn't mean any harm. Your daughter-in-law came in. Said you weren't taking your medication. She asked me to confirm it. I told her you only buy vitamins and aspirin. She said it was for an insurance form. Then she handed me a document to sign. He swallowed hard. I didn't know it was for a lawsuit. Then write that down, Mr. Weber said. Today, Mr. Green nodded quickly. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Richter. I'll make it right. Next, we visited Mr. Davis, the neighbor across the street. He opened the door, smirking. So you're here about the cameras? About all those people coming and going? Those people are my friends, I said evenly. The cameras are for safety. Sure, he scoffed. That's what crazy people say right before they start yelling at their family in the street. Mr. Weber's voice went cold. Did you actually witness any violent or erratic behavior? No, Davis admitted. But everyone can see she's paranoid. Always watching, always protecting, I corrected. From thieves who already tried to steal what's mine. When we left, Mr. Weber looked grim. Half-truths and gossip. It's enough to sound convincing to a judge. We'll need to counter this with real documentation. That evening, he brought over a colleague, Dr. Moore, a cognitive specialist. Renate, she said kindly, I'll run an official assessment. We'll prove your competence beyond question. For 2 hours, she tested my memory, problem-solving, logic, and financial understanding. When we finished, she smiled. Mrs. Richter, Your results are well above average for your age. You're sharper than most of my 40-year-old clients. Relief flooded me, but it was short-lived, because as she packed her bag, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You can't win, Mom. The judge will see the truth. Just sign over control now. We can fix this before it gets ugly. It was Max. The boy who once begged me to check for monsters under his bed was now one of them. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house felt like an accusation. Every photo on the wall looked like evidence from another life. The next morning, I called Eleanor, my neighbor, my friend. When she came over, I handed her the letter. She read it silently, then looked at me with quiet fury. Renate, she said, you're not crazy. You're cornered, but cornered people fight harder. She was right. If they wanted to drag me into court, they'd meet a woman who had survived widowhood, single motherhood, and 30 years of working life alone. They'd meet a woman who now had proof, allies, and fire. Mr. Weber filed our response that afternoon. Counterclaim, elder, financial exploitation and defamation. Let them come. They thought they were fighting for my money. I was fighting for my name. I thought the lawsuit would be my breaking point. But the day of the trial, when I saw Max take the stand and lie under oath, I realized I wasn't fighting a case anymore. I was fighting my own child. The courtroom smelled like polished wood and nerves. I sat at the defense table in my best black suit, my hands steady despite the storm inside me. This wasn't just a legal hearing. It was a funeral. The funeral of the mother I used to be. The one who mistook financial generosity for love. Across the room, Max avoided my gaze. Lena, dressed in black like a widow at her own play, squeezed his hand and whispered something rehearsed. Their lawyer, a slick man with a calm, confident smile, arranged his papers like he'd already won. When the judge entered, everyone rose. I did too, back straight, heart steady. Case 42B, petition for guardianship of Renate Richter. The lawyer started first, his voice smooth and sympathetic. Your Honor, my clients only seek to protect their mother. She has shown clear signs of mental decline, financial impulsivity, paranoia, isolation. This is not about money. It's about love. Love. That word in his mouth sounded like a lie dressed for church. He gestured toward me. She cut off all communication with her son and daughter-in-law, changed her locks, installed cameras, and refuses help. These are signs of confusion, not clarity. Then he called Lena to the stand. And just like that, my daughter-in-law began to cry on cue. Renate was like a second mom to me, she said, voice trembling. We love her, but she's changed. She's paranoid, hostile. She accused us of stealing. We just want to help her. Mr. Weber rose for cross-examination. Mrs. Schuster, he said evenly, when was the last time you contacted my client without asking for money? Lena blinked. I don't recall exactly. Was it before or after she canceled your automatic rent transfers? Her silence said everything. Is it also true, he continued, that you and your husband got married without inviting her? It was a small ceremony, she said quickly. And when she asked about it, did you tell her, quote, we only invited special people? Color drained from her face. That's out of context. Mr. Weber leaned in. Please enlighten us. What context makes that phrase kind? Lena's lips pressed together. No answer. Next came Max. Watching him swear to tell the truth was almost unbearable. He started strong, measured, sympathetic. My mom's always been loving, he said. But lately she's different. Confused. She isolates herself, makes impulsive financial decisions, won't trust anyone. We're scared she'll get taken advantage of. Mr. Weber stood again. Mr. Richter, how much money has your mother given you in the past 3 years? I don't know. She's always been generous. Would you say $33,400 sounds right? He hesitated. Maybe. How many times have you visited her without asking for money? Silence. Is it true, Mr. Weber continued, that you entered her home without permission and reviewed her private documents? Max's jaw clenched. We were concerned about her safety. Concerned enough to bring a lawyer with a power of attorney form already printed? He didn't answer. By the time our witnesses took the stand, Mr. Green, the pharmacist who admitted to being tricked, Dr. Moore, who confirmed my perfect cognitive results, Mr. Summer, the hardware store owner who testified about my rational behavior, it was clear the courtroom had shifted. Then it was my turn. I walked slowly to the stand, every step heavier than the last. Mr. Weber asked his questions calmly, giving me space to tell my story, the money, the exclusion, the lies, the threats. The moment they tried to use love as leverage for my bank account. When he asked, "Mrs. Richter, why did you stop helping them financially?" I looked directly at the judge. Because I realized what I was giving wasn't love, it was fuel for their entitlement. They wanted my money, not my presence, and I refused to fund my own disrespect. The courtroom went silent. Even the judge stopped writing. Max's lawyer tried to twist my words. He asked about paranoia, about the cameras, about my isolation, but every question had an answer, clear, concise, factual. When he implied I'd been manipulated by outsiders, I smiled softly. The only people manipulating me were inside my own family. When he accused me of being cold, I said, "Coldness is what happens when your heart finally freezes to survive." At last, both sides rested. The judge took 2 hours to deliberate, 2 hours that felt like a lifetime. When he returned, his face gave nothing away. He cleared his throat and began reading the decision. After reviewing all evidence, witness statements and medical evaluations, the court finds no basis for the claim of mental incompetence. Mrs. Richter is fully capable of managing her own affairs. Furthermore, evidence suggests the plaintiff's motivations were primarily financial. I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, my body felt weightless. Judge Miller continued, "The petition is denied. This court hereby warns the plaintiffs that further harassment may result in charges of elder abuse and defamation." It was over, not just the trial, my captivity. Max's lawyer looked stunned. Lena looked furious. Max just looked empty. For a second I thought I saw regret flicker in his eyes. Then it vanished. Outside, Eleanor and my friends were waiting. They hugged me as flashes from local reporters lit up the courthouse steps. "Renate," Eleanor whispered, "you didn't just win a case, you won yourself back." She was right. That night, I lit a candle by my window and let the silence wash over me. It wasn't the silence of loneliness anymore. It was peace. I thought the verdict meant closure. But 3 months later, something unexpected arrived in the mail. A letter from Max, and a check for $33,400. 3 months after the trial, the world had gone quiet again. Not empty quiet, but peaceful quiet, the kind that doesn't ache. My mornings had rhythm now. Coffee at 7, a walk at 8, painting by 9. Freedom had a routine, and I was finally learning to enjoy it. Then one morning, I opened my mailbox and froze, a white envelope. No return address, but I knew the handwriting instantly, Max. My heart kicked once. Hard. I took it inside, laid it on the kitchen table, and stared at it like it was a live grenade. For 20 minutes, I couldn't bring myself to open it. When I finally did, a folded check slipped out, $33,400, the exact amount I'd calculated months ago. The letter was short. "Mom, you were right. We lost everything after the trial. The apartment, the car, the respect of everyone who found out what we did. I've been working 2 jobs. Lena left last month. You didn't just protect your money. You taught me what love looks like when it stops being convenient. This is what I owe you. I know it doesn't fix anything, but maybe it's a start. Max." I sat there for a long time, the paper trembling in my hands. Part of me wanted to tear it up. Part of me wanted to cry. Mostly I just felt tired. He had finally learned, but at a cost neither of us could ever undo. That night, I called my sister Diana. He sent the money back, I told her. She went quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Do you feel better?" "I feel finished," I said. Like a door closed for good. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I framed it and placed it in my study, a reminder, a receipt for every lesson pain ever taught me. A week later, Eleanor stopped by with her usual smile and a basket of fresh bread. We sat on the porch, the evening light painting everything gold. "You look lighter," she said. "Did something good happen?" "Something true happened," I replied. "Sometimes closure doesn't come as an apology. It comes as proof that you were never crazy for standing up for yourself." We talked about everything except family, because some wounds don't need reopening to prove they've healed. That night, I took out my old travel list, the one I'd written years ago but never used because of emergencies. Venice, Vienna, Prague, places I dreamed of seeing but always postponed for someone else's comfort. I booked the first flight that same night. No guilt, no permission, just life. When I boarded the plane 2 weeks later, I thought of Robert, my late husband, and smiled. "Don't worry," I whispered. I finally kept a promise to live for myself. As the plane lifted, I looked out the window and saw the clouds scatter beneath me, and for the first time in 72 years, I felt weightless, not because I was flying, but because I had finally let go of everything that tried to keep me grounded in guilt. I used to think love meant sacrifice. Now, I know love means boundaries. I didn't lose a son. I found myself. And sometimes, that's the happiest ending of all.